Hello everyone, Ceri the Crafter here, that's C-E-R-I the Crafter, and I'm here with a bit of play on my gel plate, to be honest. I have my gel plate out because I'm working on another project. I watched a video the other day that I made notes of and I thought, oh, I'd like to have a go at that. And I've got a new stencil that was launched about a week ago and I went on to play with that. So I thought, let's turn the camera on. So basically, I've been making journal covers on my gel plate. These are the outsides of them. And I need to make some insides, so I won't be doing that on camera, but just so you know, that's why I pulled them out. This was an envelope one that's going to need an interior, and what I need to do is basically choose a colour from the outside and then just make a sheet for the inside and glue it and stitch it in. So that's pretty much why the plate was out in the first place. Also, I watched a video the other day, and I'd seen it before, by Elizabeth and Hilaire, and it's her two-tone dual pattern technique for stencils on your gel plate. It's a tutorial. I will put a link to it in the description box. I'm sure I can still find it. Because I'm doing it slightly different, only slightly different, but I was just intrigued by the results she got and I really liked it. One thing was, though, she used calligraphy paper and I'm using my 12 by 12 cardstock, so I'm not sure I'm going to get the crispness of the images that she had, but as I always tell you guys, make notes. So I make notes so I would stay on track. So let's look at the things I'm going to be using stencil wise. So I've pulled out my 9 by 12 dainty dots. I will try and put links to all of these stencils in the description box just in case you're interested. So that's dainty dots. I'm going to be using that. I believe you've also seen little leaves before. Looking at this stencil, it's been used, and come on, out you come. And that little symbol there, to me, tells me that I've actually used it before and launched it. And this is little leaves, and this is a 9 by 12. Sorry, it helps if you see it over there, isn't it? My 9 by 12 comes in 3 different sizes. And then this is the new launch. The new launch is eyes go round. I'll just take them off to one side and then I hold them over here. So I did it in a 5 by 7. Absolutely loving this. The reason I chose this, by the way, for this thing is it's got big expanses and it's got a thicker area of stencil on it. So it'll become apparent in a while. So that's 5 by 7. There is an 8 by 10 version. And there is a 9 by 12 version. And I intend using all 3 of them on the plate at the same time. So you'll have to bear with me because I'm not 100% certain. I've not done this before, so I'm just going to have a play. And what I want to do, let's see if I can do it. Let's take this out of the way. So this is a piece of the cardstock. I want to say it's, oh, what weight is this? I always forget to check this. It's 250 GSM 12 by 12 cardstock. That's what it is in this country. Can't tell you what the poundage is in yours. Right, I put marks down so I can move this out of the way. Right, and my aim is I want to fit all 3 of these stencils onto the one page. So because they're a slightly erratic shape, I think I should be able to do it and it'll look reasonably seamless. And then I'm just going to use this one to fill in the patch down the bottom. So I've laid them on there like that because that helps me. Let's move this to one side, because once I get to this stage in the process I have to move quite quickly, so I won't have time to mess around with that. So I'm going to set this to one side just so I know it's ready to go when I get to that point. So let's move this back in, and if I put my little bits of washi tape in the right place, you can see everything, which is always a benefit. I've got a piece of paper for roll off. I've got my 4-inch brayer, which is a speedball, one of my favourites. I think I need to buy another one of these because I'd like to keep a spare. If this one got broken, the other brayers I've got I don't really like. I've got my 12 by 12 gel press plate here, which has got loads of bubbles underneath it. Not that normally bothers me. And I've got my 5 by 7, which I use this as a palette to actually put the paint onto this one. So with no further ado, what do I need to do first? So I've got two pieces of 12 by 12 here. One is the print I intend making. This one is a cleanup. So what the cleanup looks like at the end, I don't mind. I'm just using it as a cleanup. So first thing I need to do is I need to put a colour on here. Elizabeth St. Hilaire did a very pale background on this one, and I actually agree with her. I think it would look lovely. So I'm going to be using a bit of Pale Lemon by Winsor & Newton Galleria. I'm going to put it on here. I don't need too much of it. I maybe need a little bit more than that. And I'm also going to use, I'm working my way down. This is sunflower yellow. This is the remains of the pot. As you can see, I cut my pots open to actually get the last of it out. You'd be surprised how much paint is left in there. People just throw them out, and I'm like, I don't think that's going to happen. Paint's not cheap. So, and I go through a lot of paint because I do this a lot. So right, I'm going to put the lid back over, well, put the saran wrap, plastic wrap, whatever you want to call it, over that. It'll keep it fresh enough, and I'm going to be using this for one of my backgrounds anyway. I'm using a plastic palette knife because I try not to use metal objects on my gel plate because I don't want it damaged. So just giving it a bit of a mix up on the plate because I want sort of a, I don't mind if it's patchy, I don't mind if it's mottled, I just don't want those blobs of colour that then give you funky little oval shapes on your plate. So we're just creating a background. I believe, and Elizabeth St. Hilaire didn't say this, but I think the reason she uses a pale background is because if she didn't, it would then affect the layers that are put over the top of it, which is why I'm in agreement and thought, right, I need to actually do the same thing here. So I'm just going to put this on, lay this down, get a bit of a rub in my hand. I do have my barron handy. A barron is a wooden tool that you can use for pressing down. This is from Cody Woodcrafts on Etsy. Anthony is the guy who hand makes them, and I absolutely love mine. And it really has saved my wrist because a lot of pressing down can hurt your wrist, and also rubbing on paper all the time tends to dry your hands out. So I'm just going to lift this off here. As I said, all I want is a good enough coating on here, and I've got it. Now these white edges, I'm just going to use what's on my 5x7 just to make sure that I pick up and cover up any of those edges. That's not a bad job, Griffiths. Let's just get that off there. So this is basically my background, or the start of my background, should I say. Let's put this to one side. And as I said, I'm going to use this other one as a clean-up. It'll pick up, it'll not pick up, it'll be whatever it is. Just get the rest of that off my brayer. And again, pick up pieces on here. I don't need my plate to be absolutely 100% clean. I can come in if I want to and wipe it with the damp cloth, which I will do after I've done the background, purely because I don't want to contaminate the foreground. So as you can see, a bit of interesting something happening on there. So now I need to go into my dots. Now my dots are going to be put on here, and then I'm going to immediately pick them up with the yellow background. And my aim is to do them in a contrasting type of colour. So I'm thinking maybe a terracotta sort of colour. Oh, there you go. We're going to pick up terracotta. So I believe Elizabeth St. Hilaire did this bit slightly different. I think she put all of the paint on the plate, then laid the stencil over the top and pulled the dots through it, because she did use dots for this one, and I like that idea. However, I'm not going to do that because I just want to do it this way. I find I get better results by brayering through with a layer of paint and then immediately picking them up. Personal choice, absolutely personal choice. Your art, your way. Just make it work for you. So, and that means I'm not wasting any paint on the plate that's not really needed. And I'm looking for nice crisp dots. Oops, come off. There you go, which is exactly what I've got there. And I'm going to come in and I'm going to pick up onto my page here, and I'm going to come in from the other side and pick up the rest of them. Now, as I said, I'm looking for a nice pattern. There you go. But I'm not looking for perfection. I'm trying to stride away from perfection. I'm going to put this face down now. And I'm just going to come in and brayer over the top. And all I'm literally doing at this point is just cleaning off my brayer and cleaning off the stencil of any excess that's on there. So I leave this to one side and dry. I don't tend to clean a stencil if it's got this large of an apertures. Any fine detail, I do wash them purely because they can get blocked up. So I'm going to come in with my cleanup sheet and just pull bits off here. Just let this build up. You never know, this may become another cover for something. It might just become an arty notebook. It could be anything I wish it to be honest with you. I use my gel prints in lots of different ways. You'd be surprised where my gel prints actually end up. So, but once this section is done, I will then be coming in and having a bit of a clean-up of my plates. So it's just a bit of grunge on there. Just give it a bit of a clean-up. Right, so we've got some stuff happening. As I said, this is a clean-up. Now, this does need a clean-up. I'm just going to take, this is a slightly damp cloth. I don't want a wet cloth. I want a slightly damp cloth. I'm not one who uses wet wipes a lot. I tend to get these face cloths. I usually buy 2 a year. And it usually costs me £1. So that's 2 face cloths for £1. I think you probably convert it to $1 if it was in the dollar store in the States. I don't know about other countries. And what I do is I just use them for a year. As they get stained and dirty, I just throw them in with my normal laundry that I'm doing. If I was going to be really picky, I'd say I put them in a coloured wash, but I've never actually bothered. I just put them in whatever laundry is going in at the time. I don't normally get any paint running onto any of my clothing. It just is what it is, really, isn't it? So, right, that's that. Oh, I might want to clean this off as well, the brayer. Normally I don't clean my brayer, but I just don't want to contaminate it with other colours. Not for this process. So we've got our dots on there. So this is our background so far. I think that's lovely, but then I quite like these colour combinations. Now I'm going to put something over this now. I'm thinking this is heading for almost an autumnal feel. Now, it could very easily become an autumn journal cover when I'm finished, or it could become like, I could go Miami, maybe these are bubbles and fizz in orange juice or something. I don't know. I'm making that up as I go along. So we're now going to look at the leaf stencil. Now I'm going to want to cover the majority of this with this pattern. Now obviously it's not a 12 by 12, so I'm going to have to be a little bit sneaky. But then when I designed this, I did design it so that this edge here marries up with the edge over the other side, and this edge here should marry up with that edge there, near enough, so I should be able to get a whole coating. And I want to go with the green here. I'm thinking quite a vibrant pop of green. I think we'll go with this. This is anise green. Oh. Got a little bit of a paint thingy on the top of there. Note to self, don't clean them off over your plate, because what happens? You then get it stuck to your plate. Oh, that's probably far more than I need. I'm being a bit heavy-handed with the paint today. So just load up my brayer a bit. I don't want it massively goobered up, but I need enough so that when I brayer through, it will actually put enough layer of a paint onto the gel plate. Now this gel plate, once it's got this colour on, is going to have to dry. It won't take long. Funnily enough, it's March here. And actually it's a really nice day. I mean, I don't know why I'm sounding surprised, but it's very much a spring day here. And I'm happy about that. I really am happy. Let's move the plate over slightly, because what I want to do is I want to lift this off here, and I'm going to line it back up here. I should really have gone nearer the edge, shouldn't I? Never mind. We will survive. I can see where it's supposed to go, so if I put that on there like that, actually, so I'm having an indecisive moment. If I overlay it, then I need to overlay it there, don't I? Just so I got a continuation, because I would have had a gap in the leaves if I'd have just popped that down there, and I suddenly realised I'd have had a gap down the middle. Now once I put this pattern on here, it's going to be a random pattern. It's not actually going to, there you go, that married up quite well. Right, if I marry these up in the gaps there, I should be able to do this again. So it just takes a little bit of planning if you're wanting to do something like this. You just need to basically look at your stencils, see if it is what I would call a continuous pattern, which I would regard this as a continuous one, because it means I can fit them all together. I've just got interest on there. I've got interest on here as well, but I'm just going to let that dry because I've got no space to flip it over, to be honest with you. So we've got the plate there. Let's bring this back in. Now I've got a ton of green on here. So I think I'm going to move the brayer to one part, move this upwards just so it can dry. And I think bringing, oops, that's the wrong one. That would have been a disaster, wouldn't it? I'm just going to brayer this paint out on the 5x7. And literally pick paint up. And I'm just going to do an effect I call kissing the plate, which means I just give it a bit of a touch down. And as you can see, I'm not caring where it is. I'm just creating. I mean, this is cardstock. This is not going to be cut up for collage because it's too thick. But it may be used for postcards, could be made into ATCs, it could be anything along those lines. You could even make journal cards out of this, that'd be quite nice, wouldn't it? Depending on the style of a journal, of course. Oops, come on, off the plate with you. So there you go. Oh, it's got a bit more. Let's see if I can get any more off this brayer. Pretty much, see if I can put some in there. So, and this is just how I build up some of those random backgrounds, because this is never going to be a finished background at this point. But when I come to work on my next gel plate project, maybe this will become a background because I'll add layers to it. So I think I need to do a bit of a clean up now. Let's put this to one side. Put that up there. Now, at this point, I may speed up or cut out a piece of the video because you don't really need to see me cleaning stuff. So there you go. I've had a little bit of a clean up. This had a little bit of time to dry. I don't think it's dry enough yet. The plate's clean, the brayer is clean. We're ready to go. I need to think now about what colour I want to put on here. Now, I've kind of got an idea, but I'm not 100% certain about it. I was thinking I'd quite like to put purple on here, because purple and yellow and orange, sort of that range, is almost a complementary, but I'm not sure that the purple isn't going to brown out the green, so I need to maybe think that through again. So let's put that up there so I've got a visual reference. So I need something that'll be, actually, I think we're going to use this. This is a bottle of paint. Basically, when my tubes of paint or my bottles of paint get to about here, I squeeze the remnants in if they're similar colour, which is why this doesn't have a label on it, because actually it's not that far off that colour, but it isn't truly that colour. And I think this colour over this, next to this, would look really spectacular. I think we're going to do that. So what we're going to do is I'm going to put a layer of paint on here, and that layer of paint, when it's lifted, will lift this off. But I'm going to put these over the top of this layer of paint, so these areas will be masked off, which means that this pattern will be preserved, and then that pattern will be overlaid on the top. So hopefully I've not confused everyone with that. I think that Elizabeth St. Hilaire words it a lot more eloquently than I do. So as I said, make sure you pop over and check her video out, because I do want to give credit where credit's due, and I've not seen this process done before anywhere, so it's almost right. I'm just wondering whether I should try and pick up the excess with a bit of tissue, just so that it's... So I'm trying to speed the process up when really I probably should turn the camera off and wait. When you look into this, it doesn't tend to be lifting, so there's very little has come off on that. So maybe there is enough time. It is dry enough. Yeah, if this was wet, I wouldn't be able to do this. So right, we're going to call that dry, because there's very little lifting off. So let's give this now. I'm going to put this onto my 5x7. I like using my 5x7 as a palette. It usually prevents me putting too much paint on here, which I am notoriously bad about doing. Now I've got all my pieces laid out here, as we saw before. So as soon as the paint is down, I'm going to have to quickly put those on here, then bring this, flip it over and put it on top. That'll all make sense when I'm being a little overly cautious. I'd rather have too much paint out than too little, because if I stop part the way through this process, it's not going to be good. So I'm skimming over the top. I'm not really brayering down on it. I'm just skimming over the top. Oh, have I got enough paint? I don't think I've got enough paint. See, I try to be good, and then what happens? I need more paint. So I want a good even coating of paint, because if it's not got paint on top of it, the green is not going to lift off. And I don't want to bray it too much, because I'm going to waste time. Right, so I'm going to come in and put this one on top, roughly in the way I laid it out. I'm going to bring this over the top, lay this down and get this immediately in contact. Where's that Baron of mine? Really going to spend some time now pressing this down, because I want everything to lift. Now this may not work the way that Elizabeth St. Hilaire's did, because the thing is, she used tissue, and I'm wondering whether I should have actually gone down the route of using tissue. I mean, she used calligraphy paper, not tissue. I am really pressing down with my fingers here, guys, because of course I've got quite thick cardstock and I'm trying to get it to pick up, and I've got a feeling I may not be succeeding. It's picking stuff up. I don't know if it's picking everything up. If it doesn't work, what have I learnt? I have learnt that I need to use thinner paper. However, it will have been an experiment. I know it works. I've seen several people do it. This video that I'm referring to has been out for a while, and I've seen other people being really successful with it, so I know it works. It's just me trying to do it with cardstock, because I know what I use my gel plates for, and I may need to have a thinner product to pull up. So if this doesn't work, I'm not going to delete the video. I'll make sure that you all see what happens. So right, let's lift it off. Okay, it did work. I think the green was the wrong colour. I'm not upset by that. It's not perfect. I can see the green pattern, but I think the green wasn't bright enough or the turquoise was too dark. But you know what? I like the shapes within this, so I'm not upset. So let's just put that to one side. Let's lift these off here. They've got paint on them, so I'm going to put them to one side. I'm going to bring in that clean off sheet and see what I can do with that. Oh, I've got stuff on this plate as well. So I was aiming for something that looked fall-like. I think we've got the right colours. I don't think the technique worked for me, as I said, purely because I thought I knew better and thought I could do it with card. I'd say that's probably a wrong thing to think. Although that's looking interesting, isn't it? Right, that needs lightening up if nothing else. Right, let's get a bit of tissue on here just to clean up the remnants of what's on here. All tissue paper is recycled into collage anyway. There you go, it's just give me a bit of tissue paper for cleaning up another day. So, let's have a little bit of a clean while I think about that. So, I know the technique works. I altered things and used cardstock instead of using tissue. So therefore, tissue would have given me a much better pull on the detail. Also, I made a mistake in that I used the wrong colour combination. The turquoise was too close in value to the green. Therefore, they didn't stand out. I should have gone with something, I don't know, maybe a cream or an ivory or something along those lines. I'll do this experiment again at some point. So purely because it's a good experiment. However, I think I'd actually like to see what I can do with this print now that it's not the print I was expecting it to be. So let's take this out of the way. Let's have a little bit of a look-see. So I'm not upset by that. I like the shapes within it. It reminds me kind of an African print, like a fabric print, so that's not a problem. But I think I need to do something with this now. So I'm just going to play with some ideas and pull some stuff together. First of all, I want to knock the intensity of that back. And I think what I'm going to do is I've got some old ivory here, which is a Stamperia paint, which I know is completely 100% opaque. And I think what I want to do is I want to brayer it out really thinly and touch it down the paper in that kissing technique I like to do, just to turn patches of this a little bit further. So I want to push stuff into the background. So I'm literally going to touch it down in areas just to give it a bit of something. There you go, that's sort of what I need. We'll look at that a bit further in a moment. I'm going to come in with the clean off sheet, which is looking slightly muddy at the moment. It doesn't bother me, it's a clean off sheet. Actually, I must admit, some of my clean off sheets have ended up as my favourite pieces. I'm not sure this is one of them, but there you go. See, a layer of a paler colour just threw everything into the background. So that'll easily start its life over again. Right, this needs a bit of a clean up. Now, I need to think, what does this print need from me? I've got an idea. Remember, we were going to head towards autumn. I'm wondering. I'm thinking I'd like to put a bit more red or orange into this. I wonder. I don't want to use red iron oxide. I've got quinacridone red in a golden high flow acrylic. If I remember, it's a bit pinky, which is the bit that's sort of worrying me slightly. Oh, bubble up, why don't you? But if I just put a bit on here. Sorry, I get this stuff everywhere. I'm not good with liquid paints. In fact, I would say I'm verging on a disaster with liquid paints. But what I want is I just want a bit on this plate. It's a bit pink, but I'm okay with that as well. I think I need to clean my brayer. I'm getting lines on it. So I'm just going to come in. I'm going to do that touching technique again, but actually a lot lighter. See, I'm going really, it's looking a bit carnival time now, but that's actually not bad. I'm thinking of all the vibrant colours you get in the autumn. Now we've got all that on the plate, so let's just do one big pull up on this one and see what the thing looks like. So that's thinking about itself. Let's have a little look at the one that we're creating. Right, there you go. So we've got this, which is probably 150 miles away from what I normally do. But am I upset by it? Actually, no, I'm not upset by it. I quite like the way this is going now. As I said, it's a bit vibrant. That's okay. I am kind of tempted. I keep saying no red iron oxide, transparent red, but I think if I did it, it would give me that orangeness I'm looking for because of all the yellows, and the greens would turn slightly brown, but it would have to be the smallest glaze. So what I'm thinking is transparent red iron oxide. I love this colour, but it does dramatically change a background, which may not be a bad thing. Let's lift this one off of here. Okay, that's becoming, I don't know what that is becoming. That may be something I need to work on separately. Right. I think I've kind of decided it does need to be this. See, the stuff explodes all over me. So I'm not going to put a lot. Ceri, ease off on the iron oxide. Let's leave that open just in case I need a touch more. I'm looking for a glaze. A glaze is a very thin layer of colour. Just put the lid on this. I know I'm going to knock that over unless I'm very careful. Take that off of there. A glaze is a very thin layer of paint meant to just change the colours underneath it. Now it looks like I've got very little on there, and believe me, I have, and that was done on purpose. Although I do have to move with a bit of passion and speed just to make sure it doesn't dry on me. I don't usually have a problem with oxides drying on me. They tend to dry when I've put the paper down, so I'm okay about that. So, right. I'm going to let that sit because I want it to completely and utterly lift up all of that paint. And then what I want to do is, okay, I have these foam stamps that are from PM Artist Studio, and I haven't used these yet, so I'm really excited about these. And I think that once this has gone into that orangey sort of look it's going to go for, I think if I then use these, I can turn this into quite an oriental feeling piece. What else do I want on it is the question. Without going, oh, let's put some bubble wrap on it, which is what I always do. Right, let's see where we're at with this, because it would have changed character. Right, it has definitely changed character. It definitely went orange, and I definitely don't mind that. Right. That, however, I do mind. Where's something I can pick it up with? You've seen these before. These are some of the strips that I will eventually turn into ATCs, or artist trading cards. For anyone who's not familiar with that term, an artist trading card is a miniature piece of art that is 2.5 inches by 3.5 inches, and groups and people trade them and swap them, and some people just make them and keep them. So that'll become a nice background. Right, so we're looking at this again. I do kind of like that. I need to make it look more oriental. And I'm wondering whether it's a metallic I need to add into this at this point. Now, what do I want to do in copper? Do I want to do a pattern? I don't know. I don't want circles, that I do know. I lost the leaves. Let's put the leaves back in. Right, so I'm going to just do the leaves in the middle, and then I'm going to pick them up onto that. So I'm going to squeeze out some of the copper. I do need a reasonable amount of copper because it needs to go down into the stencil. Well, this is a mask if it's covering something, and I'm going to use it as a stencil. I'll just give it a quick brush over the top. Not brush, roll over the top, sorry. Now I'm trying to stay within the confines of the mask, not go over the edges, because I don't really want to pick up the odd bits on the outside, but if I have gone over the edge, that's not a problem really. I think this might just be what I need to kick it into gear, and I think maybe a little bit of patterning in white as well would be a good idea, just to give the light and shadiness to it. If there is such a word as light and shadiness. Let's just lift this off of here. Come on, it's stuck down. The stencils are actually made of UPO. They are quite robust. However, if you abuse them, you'll lose them. As in any stencil that you buy, other than the metal ones, obviously. And actually, even with the metal ones, if you ding them about or knock them about, you will actually end up ruining those as well. Well, that's certainly added a layer of something. I don't know whether I'm 100% about it, but that's okay. Let's just put a little bit more up there. Right, where's that one that we're not loving? I say we're not loving. That's bad, isn't it? I shouldn't talk about my art as if I don't love it. I do love it. It's just that I was adding some bit of a sheen of leaf on there. That's not bad. Right, where's that? Let's just grab a new piece of 12 by 12 and just do some cleanups here. Oops. Come on, God, my plate was sticky with that one. Hopefully I'm in shot for all of this. I think what we'll do over the top of that is I'm just going to flip this onto here and give it a bit of a brayer for no other reason than I'm just removing the excess paint off the stencil itself. Or mask, whichever use you're using for determines what it's called. There you go, that's giving me a really nice pattern on that one. Let's just lift this one off and out of the way. So see, you just, when you're gel printing, you're just perpetuating all the time that you're making more and more and more prints. Which is fine with me, I use prints a lot. So right, let's come back to this one. Actually, I might not need the plate anymore. I'm just going to put the plate up there a second. Right, so we've got sheen on this. It's looking really busy. That's the thing that slightly bothers me. I want to come in with something that will knock all of this into the background. Now I know I'm sort of the bubble wrap king, but I'm going to use bubble wrap because I think these larger circles, if they were in a light colour, and I'm even thinking white for this, then that would really, really help these. Okay, let's get some white on this plate. Thank you, by the way, to everyone who's given me suggestions about how to clean my work surface. I just haven't got around to doing it yet. It's been a crazy couple of weeks here, I must admit. It's coming to the end of the tax year, so lots of things have to be done with accounts and all of that lot. I won't go into it too much, but we had a funeral, we lost somebody, so that had to be done. It's been 3 weeks of very busy, to be honest with you. So I haven't got down to doing it. Right, so just rolling that out, and time on the tradition, press it down, pick it up. And yes, I know I'm starting in the top left hand corner. Guess what? I always do. A little bit over there, a little bit down by there, just a little bit in the middle, just for hits and giggles. A little bit up in that corner because I want that finished off. Right, we've got this on here. Let's just take this off onto the print. God, I can feel how many layers are on here. This is actually feeling quite wet. So the trouble is, if you keep going with something like this, you could basically wet the upper surface of the paper and then it just starts to tear off. So I'm risking it. So just be aware that if you're doing this and you're using the same cleanup all the time, just be aware you could rip the surface of the paper. So right, it's interesting. It is, funnily enough, looking a little more fall-like now. I do like the shimmer of the leaves in it. Is it something I would normally do? Possibly not, but then that can be considered a good thing. Now, I was considering black, but I'm actually thinking I've got Van Dyke Brown somewhere. Okay, Van Dyke Brown. Van Dyke Brown is almost, and I say almost, black. So what I'm going to do before I do this, this is a damp cloth, as I've said. Now I'm going to lay this damp cloth over to one side because once these are actually used with acrylic paint, I would like to clean them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put them face down on the damp cloth, so once I've finished the video, the paint wouldn't have dried onto them. And that's what I'm going to do. Normally, I'd have maybe a bowl of water or something to throw them in, or I just gently clean them. I mean, as with anything, if you vigorously clean something, you are likely to damage it. So I tend to be really cautious with my equipment because I don't want to destroy it. So I'm brayering this out as if it was an ink pad. And then we're going to come in, let's do the small one first. Just tapping down a few times just so it picks up paint. Give it a reasonable, I'm resting my fingers on it to press it down. Bang, that's exactly what I was looking for. I love these stamps. I've actually designed some, by the way. You will be seeing them from me when my delivery of them arrives. So I'm going to take this bit and just stamp off the excess onto my brayer off sheet over here. And then I'm going to lay this down so it's resting on my damp cloth. Then I'm going to come in with the bigger version. So just give that another bit of a brayer. Pick up paint. You can usually see by the shininess how much you've got on here. And I'm not digging my fingers in. I'm pressing down flat with my palm, almost as if I had an acrylic block, just pressing it. And look how crisp that image is. That's absolutely damn gorgeous. Right, I want to, let's take my instructions. Actually, I want to go off the top of the print with this one. There you go. And I think I'm going to do something very similar just down by here. Slip this under here. So I'm having the thought it needs to be on this side of this one, doesn't it? Not that there's any rules to art, there isn't. But the way my brain organises stuff, you'd think there was. Okay, but as you can see, look, it will give you several really nice stamps before I actually have to take it off and clean it. So that's given me that on there. Quite liking that. Do I want anything else on there? You know, I'm slightly tempted. I actually do have this dragonfly stamp as well from PM Artist Studio. And I'm thinking this would look really nice because these, I regard dragonflies as almost oriental as well. I'm going to come in and pop a few of those on there. I love that image, it's so lovely and crisp. I'm going to turn this around so that all the dragonflies aren't facing the same way. And I like my insects to fly into a design. I'm not overly keen with insects flying out. Personal choice. That's lovely. I think I might actually, I'll just clean my work surface off afterwards. I'm going to do some so they're just going off the edges. Now I can already see a problem with this. I wonder whether you can see it as well. I've avoided the middle again. Why do I do that? Why on earth do I do that? Let's just clean the stamp off. Put on the foam. I'm thinking there needs to be something there, and I'm actually thinking it might just be another piece of the small one. This is called asemic writing, by the way, if I haven't already said it. It's asemic writing. It's by PM Artist Studio. I will endeavour to remember to put the link to the stamps I'm using as well as the stencils. There you go. I think that was it. Let's just stamp that off. And I think I might call that quits. Or done, should I say. Right, this is a whole heap of black. That needs to come off there, but I'll put that to one side. I'll deal with that when the camera is off. Right. Am I happy with that? It actually would make a really nice journal cover, wouldn't it? So that would be it. You never know, this may become a journal cover, guys. I have to think about that. I think I'm going to say it's done. I think I am. I mean, I could keep going. I could add splatters onto it. I could add dots. I could do umpteen other things, but I actually quite like that as it is. I think we're going to say it's done, guys. Okay, so the Elizabeth St. Hilaire video I will link in the description box. Please go and watch it. She does a far better job than I've just done, although I will keep these notes in mind, and I think I'm going to redo it. And next time I'm going to use tissue paper because it would have worked perfectly with tissue paper, whereas using 250 GSM cardstock was a bit of a numpty idea. But I think that's lovely. I do. That's really, really growing on me. I'm thinking actually I might make a cover for my next planner. Okay, I need to stop gossiping about this. So guys, hopefully you like that. As I said, it was all about introducing my my new masks or stencils called Eyes Go Round, which is the one with all the circles. You will see all of them in the future because I will continue to use them. And if I'm redoing this project at some point, I'll probably use the same stencils again. It's just I really must have had an off day on my colours. That green and turquoise was such a bad idea. The green was a good idea. The turquoise was a good idea. Not together. They're the same family. One cancelled out the other. Lesson learned. That was fine. So hopefully you enjoyed that, guys. So until next time, I'm Ceri the Crafter. That's C-E-R-I the Crafter. And I'll see you. Bye-bye now.